Hi, it's Ileana here, and today I am going to be discussing the viewers' questions for Emery Smith. I have gotten many requests to speak to Emery before from my audience, and I've gotten requests with several questions. So I have not had a chance to speak with Emery. Emery is busy with his own things, and so I've been also busy. But I thought I'd share with everyone several of the questions that were asked for Emery, and I was asked to compile a list. It's just, even though I don't have the answers, the questions themselves are very interesting. So I thought I'd share that with the audience today. So question number one was this. When you were working in the underground laboratories in the Black Ops projects, were there handheld genome scanners that can detect a being's full genome sequence for ecDNA in human/ET hybrids? What do these genome scanners look like? How were they made? So that was question number one. Now, I don't know if Emery ever used handheld genome scanners in the Black Ops projects and the laboratories that he worked in, but when I worked in the cybernetics labs on Mars, I had a personal handheld genome scanner at all times when I was working in the labs, because the projects that I did involved genetics to see how much ET genetics was in the human SSP assets, because we knew that with these handheld scanners, you put your palm on it and it scans your whole genome. And the scientists in the cybernetics labs, that's who the we are, they knew that a lot of the ET DNA that comes from past lives as ETs, that DNA migrates into the cellular memory in our human incarnations, in our next lifetimes. So sometimes we end up being ET human hybrids in human bodies on Earth. And the DNA from our past lives as ETs also transfers over into the new body. So the planetary corporations have the ability to literally measure the percentages of DNA that somebody has, ET DNA, from past lives in the current body with these handheld genome scanners. So that's what I know from my time in the cybernetics labs, that this can be done, and it has been done. But these scanners are not available in human hospitals or clinics. They're only available in the cybernetics labs, and I also suspect in the Black Ops projects, military projects on Earth in the underground bases, or dumps as they're called. Question number two, were there DNA sequencer scanners that are genome splicers that can alter and splice DNA to edit out genetic mutations or anomalies or completely change the genetic profile of a being? What do these DNA sequencer scanners look like? How were they made? I don't know if Emery used DNA sequencer scanners in the labs where he worked for the Black Ops projects, but in the cybernetics labs, we did have DNA sequencer scanners, and they're very small devices that are portable. You put your hand or your finger on it, it scans your whole genome and your DNA, and it can detect mutations or anomalies instantly. It's within like 30 minutes it has the results back of whatever genetic profile that was scanned of a human or an ET. And once we know what the mutations and anomalies are, this DNA sequencer scanner, it's a genomic splicer, so it can remove the mutations or anomalies out of the DNA, and it could fix your DNA. So it can do that on the spot. And it can also change your genetic profile. It's called a genome splicer for a reason, because it can add in other ET DNA to the human genome and can create ET human hybrids. So it can do that by adding in other DNA to the human DNA. It could be ET DNA, it could be animal DNA, it could be plant DNA. It can be sequenced into the human DNA to literally change a being from being human to an ET hybrid or a full-on ET, or to augment the human to have characteristics of ETs without changing their genetics too much. That's what I remember from using these DNA sequencer scanners in the cybernetics labs when I was there. So that's kind of the experiences that I have with it. And question number 3 was, are genome scanners used to identify different types of extraterrestrials to scan their DNA in order to prevent them from illegally coming to Earth or stopping intruders? Is there a databases that keeps records of extraterrestrial DNA profiles in computer systems or on satellites in order to match genetic sequences for ETs coming and going from Earth? I don't know what Emery's response would be, but my response is that the genome scanners can identify different types of extraterrestrials to scan their DNA. Because when I was working in the cybernetics labs, what would happen is every time I would go into work in the labs attached to the Mars basis, I had to put my hand on a gene sequence scanner, like a platform that had a tablet on it. I put my hand down, it scans my whole genome, and this was every day when you come to work. It scans the genome sequence to make sure that you're still you, that you're still fully human, that your DNA has not been changed into another extraterrestrial, that you are indeed still you, human you, that you have not been swapped out for a extraterrestrial that can shapeshift and change into your appearance or mimic their own DNA to look like yours. So that hasn't happened. That's why the scanners are there as a security measure. It also scans for any anomalies or augmentations to make sure your DNA hasn't been changed with something added in. It's not supposed to be there, like implants or nanite augmentation. And the genome scanner can scan what implants you already have, augmentation that was originally created in the cybernetics labs. And it scans that and it processes it as regular. That's what you already have from the cybernetics labs on Mars. So that's their augments, not something outside. Also, it scans you to make sure you're not a cyborg, that again, you haven't been swapped out for a cyborg or a clone, a different version of you that's not really you, that has different memory programming and different actions and sequences. So these genome scanners are the current standard security measures to prevent somebody from going into the cybernetics labs that aren't supposed to be you but are impersonating you. It's done to prevent that from happening. Scanners are there to make sure that you are you. And genetic profiles are always kept in the databases. Actually, on the cybernetics labs databases on satellites. So there's always a genetic profile of any SSP asset that works for the secret space programs. There's always a copy of that genetic profile somewhere in the databases. So we do keep genetic profiles. And because every SSP asset has a file for who they are and what they do and their records. And part of those records is your genomic DNA profile of the healthiest state that you were in. And it's there to use in the holographic medical pods. It's there for cloning as well. It has a lot of different purposes. And these genetic scanners are used to identify extraterrestrials as well from illegally coming to Earth and to stop them if there's intruders, or to just identify ETs that are here for exchange programs with Earth. They are used to identify ETs on Earth to make sure, are you allowed to be here or not? Because you can't just nilly-willy come to Earth and do whatever you want if you're an ET. There's the behind the scenes of tracking ETs with these genome scanners to make sure they're not intruders here for some nefarious reasons, that they're here to do what they're supposed to be doing behind the scenes, if they want to have an Earth experience, learn something from us. But it's quietly done behind the scenes because a lot of them look human like us. So you can tell the difference between an ET or a human ET hybrid. They look like us. They can just blend in and pass. They're passable for being humans. It's just their genetics are different, and these genome scanners can pick that up behind the scenes. If someone is born on Earth and they are part human but have ET DNA, how are their ET genetics detected from the human genome? What is the process and how does it work? What types of devices and technologies are used to detect ET DNA in humans? How are these devices made and what are they made of? Well, again, I don't know what Emery's answer to this would be, but my answer would be, again, it's these small portable genetic scanners that can look like a cell phone, a smartphone. It can look like a tablet. It's made out of metal or plastic. It scans your human genome or your ET-DNA, and that's how it can verify whether you're fully human or that you have ET-human hybrid traits. And really, those are the only types of scanners that can pick up the differences in the DNA. There's nothing out in the public in hospitals or medical centers right now that can pick up that you are different if you're an ET or a human. There's nothing out there right now on Earth that can pick that up. Only in the Black Ops projects and cybernetics labs, they have access to these genomic scanners. And again, it's a small device that's held in your hand. You put your hand on it, scans your DNA, and it tells you your genetic profile. You don't have to go and take a saliva test that takes 6 to 8 weeks to determine your DNA like we do here on Earth. You just put your hand on the scanner. It's a small palm scanner. It scans your DNA, and in 30 minutes you have your genomic results of what ethnicity you are, what you have in your DNA in terms of variants, mutations, or if there's no variants or mutations and you're perfectly healthy. Can someone, for question number 5, can someone's genome and DNA be examined to determine the degree of their psychic abilities, what specifically is found in their DNA that can make someone very psychic as well as having other extrasensory abilities, like foretelling the future, remote viewing, etc.? I don't know what Emery's answer would be, but I think that the junk DNA, that 10% of junk DNA, that is where this type of information would be seen of how psychic somebody is or how many psychic abilities they have. Personally, we didn't use the genome scanners for that. We used the memory engram stations to check for psychic abilities because brain patterns are usually different. The more psychic you are, the brain pattern is different. So we use the memory engram stations for that, or the Neuralink chairs to check for psychic abilities. We weren't using the genome scanners for that. But I think they could be programmed to check for the different variants in the junk DNA. For question number 6, for security access at locked doors in classified facilities, like underground laboratories, were there genome scanner pads where your hand would be placed on the genome scanner and the scanner would read your genetic profile and verify your DNA sequence, that it was indeed you and not an intruder, that was a clone, ET, a cyborg, or a shapeshifter? Again, I don't know if that was available in the facilities where Emery was, in the Black Ops facilities, but on the cybernetics labs on Mars, we did have those genome scanner pads on the platform, like I described before, that would check our genome every day and scan our DNA to profile to make sure that we're indeed us, the original SSP asset that we're supposed to be, that have clearance to work in these labs, and that we're not an intruder like a clone, ET, shapeshifter, or a cyborg, that we haven't been replaced with something else that looks like us. So those are the security measures. Every day you have to put your hand on the scanner pad at the platform station by the locked doors. You have to be cleared that you are still you genetically. You haven't been augmented with something that you shouldn't have from outside programs as well, but you're still you. For question number 7, did you ever examine ET blue blood that had more plasma components in it than human red blood that seems to have less plasma? The ET blue blood has properties that allow to cure autoimmune diseases. Did you ever investigate this process? How does the process work with extracting the ET blue blood and utilizing it to cure autoimmune diseases? What types of devices allow this process to happen as well? How do these devices look and how are they built? I don't know the answer to that from Emery's side of it. If he ever encountered ET blue blood that has healing properties in it to cure autoimmune diseases or other diseases. What I remember from my past lives as a Pleiadian ET is that their blue blood has regenerative properties to heal faster and to regenerate the body quicker than human red blood does. It takes us longer to heal and regenerate the body. With the amount of plasma that we have in our red blood, we have less plasma. And the blue blood of some extraterrestrials has more plasma in it to promote quicker healing and regeneration of the body. That's what I remember from a past lifetime memory regression session. So some ETs that have blue blood or other colored blood, they might have more plasma than what is in red blood cells. Question number 8. Are you aware of the SSP programs having cybernetic labs on the Mars bases? Again, are you aware of the SSP programs having cybernetic labs on the Mars bases? Have you ever been off planet on these types of bases on Mars? if you have been in the cybernetic labs on Mars or anywhere else off planet, what types of projects did you see happening there? What did you work on? Can you describe in details what these projects were and what they were doing? I don't know the answer to that, whether Emery has been off planet working on Mars bases and in cybernetic labs. All I can say is that I have worked in cybernetic labs when I was doing like 10 to 12 years working in these cybernetics labs from my 16 back. I did 10 to 12 years working in that type of a project in cybernetics labs off planet, attached to the Mars bases. And when I was in these cybernetics labs, I was building biological human cyborgs that look like us. The only difference is they're stronger, faster, smarter, and they're augmented with Neuralink implants and other Nanite Nanotechnology that's internal inside their bodies. They're not fully cyborgs like you would think, like the Borg in Star Trek, for example. They're not like that. That's not how these biological human cyborgs look like. They're not fully augmented with cybernetics. They have either the Neuralink implants or they have nanites in them that augment their body. But they're not built internally of everything cybernetic. Like their bones are not metallic, unless that's the augmentation they needed for some reason. So they're not fully made of cybernetics. The cybernetic type augments are incorporated into the human body. So it's not like full-on Terminator movies either. So the idea is not to fully make you a cyborg, it's to incorporate bits and pieces of cybernetics through nanotechnology to help you do what you need to do in terms of work on Mars and other planets, to acclimate you to the atmospheres on different planets, to allow you to breathe easier, to allow you to be able to take in the atmospheric pressure or the gravity on different planets. That's what the cybernetics implants can allow you to do in augments. So I just wanted to explain that a bit, and I also worked with genetics, splicing human DNA with ET-DNA to make human ET hybrids, or to make full ET hybrids, to change genetic profiles, to actually literally change the biological factor and molecular factor of beings, to change you into a different ET, from human to full-on ET, and then change you back as needed. So that's what I was doing on the cybernetics labs attached to the Mars bases. Question number 9 is, how would an exoskeleton be created for the hybridized ocelot being that had the metallic-like claws? That concept came from the movie X-Men, where Wolverine had adamantium metal fused with his bones in order to give him super strength. How would a cybernetic body be created from strong metallic substances or elements in nature to fuse metal with bone? Again, I'm not Emery, so I cannot explain about the ocelot and the metallic-like claws. What I do remember from the cybernetics labs is that the nanite technology can fuse with human bones and strengthen that. And it's not fully metal that the bone becomes. It's just, it mimics properties of metal to strengthen the bone, but it's not metal. You're not augmented with metallic substances per se. It just makes your bone structure thicker and stronger, bigger, It just augments all the qualities of the human body times 10. It makes you literally evolve to what you could be down the road in the future. And if you do have metal augments of metallic substances, if for some reason that augmentation is given to you, it would be some metallic, perhaps alloys that we don't have on Earth, that's sequenced specifically for the human body not to reject. Because any metal stuff that's not augmented with nanites, those implants would be rejected. So the nanites augment any type of metallic substances or elements that's found in nature, that if for some reason it ends up in some type of a cybernetic augmentation in a human biological body, then the nanites augment those substances so the human body doesn't reject it. That's my basic understanding of that. Number 10, do you know if etheric and Neuralink implants can be augmented in the human brain in order to genetically infuse ET-DNA into the human body, or are drug serums used to change the human into an ET-human hybrid in order to pilot the bioships? Again, I don't know Emery's answer to this, but my answer, from what I understand working with Neuralink implants and having them in my brain, I didn't have ET-DNA infused into the Neuralink implants. ET-DNA would be delivered to me through drug serums, through dermal injection into the neck or the hand, to literally change the human into an ET-human hybrid in order to pilot the bioships, or pilot any types of ships that the SSP has that requires that change from human into ET-human hybrids to pilot the ships, and then the DNA infusion can be reversed to make you fully human again. So with time, you do lose the abilities of the ET-human hybrid DNA infusion, or the infusion can be permanent and you remain with the ET-human hybrid traits of the new DNA infusion. Because through these drug serums, it could be either permanent or it could be temporary. It depends on why it's being done and what it's being done for, from what I understand from what we were doing in the cybernetics labs. Question 11. Why would an SSP asset who was never trained officially in the human medical system have knowledge of various infectious diseases, mental disorders, medical procedures, autoimmune disorders, etc., when they never even learned about such things, but they automatically know the answers to how medical systems work both on Earth and off planet, understanding weird medical jargon? Again, I don't know Emery's answer to this question, but from my experiences with having knowledge, medical knowledge that I shouldn't, when I had the Neuralink implants, even on Earth until 2017, and when I was working in the cybernetics labs, I could just get informational packet downloads delivered into my Neuralink implants and study any type of information that I needed for whatever type of work I was doing in those labs, so that I didn't have to go to school and learn that for years. It could have taken a couple of hours or a couple of days to disseminate all the package download info to the Neuralink implants, and my brain would process that because the Neuralink implants allow for higher memory, higher IQ, and to quickly process the information from the download and integrate it into the memory in the brain. So that's what I remember. The Neuralink implants fast track learning and fast track learning of a higher nature. Like, I don't have any medical training on Earth, but I have medical knowledge that I shouldn't. I'm not a trained doctor, but I have weird medical knowledge, and that's because of those Neuralink implants, because that kind of stuff was downloaded into my brain often in the cybernetics labs to be able to make me into a cybernetics technician, as weird as that sounds, but that's how it was done. And a lot of the times, humans are taken into the SSPs. You don't have to have military or medical training. You just have the traits to make it compatible for the job. Personality traits, knowledge traits. You just have certain aptitudes that may qualify you for what the SSP wants you to do. So that's why they abduct you or take you, whether willingly or unwillingly, because you have something that they want. You're suited somehow for the job that they have in mind for you, or jobs. You don't have to be military or medical. You don't even necessarily have to have that knowledge, because if they provide you with implanted Neuralinks implants, then they can just download whatever they want into your brain, and you have the knowledge and the new job skills to do the job. It's instant learning. For question number 12, can you explain how the quantum leap time dilation programs work in the SSP so people can time travel doing the 60 and back? Again, I don't know Emery's answer to this, but my answer would be this. The quantum leap time dilation programs, they work by literally manipulating the 0 point time frame of timelines between your Earth timeline reality and Mars timeline reality. It's like a time travel bridge. You don't even know that you have missing time and that you were gone. It works so smoothly for time dilation that you may have been gone for 1 or 2 hours from Earth, but on Mars, that was like 2 weeks. And again, this is time dilation technology working with 0 point to literally form bridges between timelines. The timeline could be the same or a concurrent one. You're not living like 300 years in the future. You're still connected to 3D reality. It's the same timeline, except it veers off through time dilation to create a concurrent point where you're allowed to go to Mars seamlessly, there and back. And again, since it's dealing with 0 point, the 60 and back, that's how it's done. It's literally quantum leap time dilation programs where they use 0 point technology to create these dilation programs through quantum leap time travel. It sounds weird, but it uses 0 point to do that, to create timeline bridges between your Earth reality and your Mars reality, and still 3D reality here in the now. And it can seamlessly take you out of your 3D time on Earth to your 3D time on Mars to deposit you there and then take you back and wipe your memories so you don't remember any of it. That's the point of it. They can erase your memories, but some people, they're not as easily susceptible to mind erasure as others. Number 13. When did you first visit the Vatican underground vault? Day, month, year, and how many times have you been in the underground vault since your first visit? What projects did you work on in the vault if you had more than one visit there? I don't know Emery's answer, but my answer is I had been transported to the Vatican underground vault once, and it was during the eclipse, 2017 August eclipse, I think. I was just sitting out on my deck, and all of a sudden I was teleported to the Vatican underground vault, and I got to see the digital holographic version of the Alexandria Library. In one of their basically libraries. They have different rooms with different libraries. And I was in some white facility that was purely white and had these silver holographic screens. And what I was shown was the Library of Alexandria, because it had been actually all saved and holographically input into one of their library databases in this room. And that's what I got to see and experience. And it's the holographic technology can literally replicate books and stuff, and you can have tactile experience with it. And then the holographic code, once you're finished with it, it's put back into the database, and the physical item just dissolves. It goes back into the holographic code. So it feels like you're actually touching the real thing for a bit, and you are. But then the code sequence goes back into the database, and the item disappears. It dematerializes, because everything, holographic things are made out of just light and sequence. Can materialize and dematerialize. So that's what I remember from my Vatican Underground Vault experience. Studying the information from the Library of Alexandria. That's fascinating. So for question 14, was the manufacturing company that made the smart suit that you wore on Earth or off planet? If on Earth, which country is the smart suit manufacturing company in? And if off planet, then what planet is the company located on? Again, I don't know Emery's answer to this question, but I do know that the cybernetics labs on Mars do make different types of smart suits. We had daily smart suits that we wore as our uniforms, and these smart suits interacted with our Neuralink implants. It kept us healthy. It allowed, if we put on a smart suit helmet, it allowed us to go outside in the Mars atmosphere, and that atmosphere is far denser than here on Earth because it has less oxygen. So the smart suit allowed us to breathe easier, to give us full oxygen, to simulate just like on Earth. It had visory information data on what we were seeing ahead of us or behind us. So it allowed us to see clearer through the smart suit. The smart suit had electromagnetic fields around it, so it would deflect physical projectiles from weaponry and laser and phaser projectiles as well. Sometimes if the smart suit was augmented, it had anti-gravity on it, and it can allow you to float or even fly. It could allow you to jump fast, and it would augment your strength, and it would also augment some of your biological functions of your body, so you don't have to go to the bathroom every couple of hours, and you don't have to eat so much. So also controlled biological functions of the body. That's the main thing I liked about the smart suit. It for women, the advantage of wearing those smart suits as a daily uniform was you never had that time of the month. And also it was like a birth preventative, so it prevented you from getting pregnant while you were wearing the smart suit. Natural birth control in your smart suit. I know that sounds funny, but it has those biological characteristics of what it can do to change your biology temporarily. And these smart suits, because they're made out of nanite technology, they can simulate clothing. Say you don't want the smart suit to look like a gray uniform, you can program it to change it into a different color, a different fit on your body, and reshape it into different clothing even. Like if you want a pantsuit, you can reformat the programming and it will simulate fabric in a pantsuit. Or if you want a skirt with a top, if it's for a female wear, it could do that. And then once you deprogram it, it goes back into the smart suit uniform. So, and it could also, the electromagnetic fields, they have cloaking abilities, so it could fully cloak you and make you invisible. And the only way to discover if somebody is cloaked is to literally shock them with a lot of electricity voltage, and that disrupts temporarily the electromagnetic field of the smart suit that's cloaking you, and it dematerializes you for a little bit. But then the smart suit has the ability to reprogram the electromagnetic field and strengthen it. So the next time if somebody used the same amount of electric voltage to electrocute the suit, it wouldn't work to destabilize the cloaking. The cloaking would remain because you need a higher electrical voltage to disrupt the cloaking mechanism of the smart suit next time. And honestly, I don't know the company or companies on Earth that Emery worked for to make these smart suits. I only know about the smart suits and their capabilities of what we created in the cybernetics labs for the human cyborgs, because their smart suits were programmed specifically for their genetic profiles. So nobody else could wear their smart suit or take it when they weren't wearing it. It was specifically programmed for their genetic profile, so it couldn't be stolen or taken. Another security precaution. For question number 15, what type of smart suit did you wear? What was its main purposes, designed to do, and how does it work? Again, I don't know what smart suits Emery wore, but what we designed in the cybernetics labs were environmental smart suits, everyday uniform smart suits of what I already described, exoskeleton smart suits, mech smart suits that are huge. I still call it a smart suit, but it's a mech suit where it's fully armored and it has weapons on it. So it has a lot of metal and stuff on it. It's more military-like. It's bigger. So those are the types of smart suits that I know of and what was created in the cybernetics labs. Question number 16. There are smart suits that can change a person's molecular structure so they do not have to go to the bathroom while wearing the smart suit. What is that technology and how does it actually work? That the body temporarily does not produce biological waste outside the body for as long as the individual is wearing the smart suit. Does this involve nanotechnology, and what type of nanotech? Again, I don't know Emery's answer to this, but from my experience in the cybernetics labs, all of these smart suits, especially the everyday wear uniform smart suits, they are made of Nanite Nanotechnology that is literally interwoven with whatever fibers, material the smart suit is made out of. The nanotech is interwoven into that. And that's what makes a smart suit work. That's what allows it to change your biological functions and molecular structure of the body to prevent you from going to the bathroom, from producing biological waste outside of the body while you're wearing the smart suit. It's all doable because of the nanotechnology, nanites. That's what powers the smart suit, and that's what changes your biology while you wear it. those are the basics of it that I know of. That's the technology. For question number 7, can you please describe the new technology that has replaced the maglev trains on electromagnetic tracks? In the new technology, there are faster than the speed of light trains that go through teleportation hubs or portals to be transported from point A to point B or even off planet. How are these faster than the speed of light trains made, and how do they work in conjunction with the hub portal systems? What are the portal systems made of in terms of technology? Now, again, I don't know Emery's response to this, but the maglev trains have been replaced with faster than the speed of light trains, and this type of technology can work on plasma. It can work with crystalline technology, as far as I'm aware of. And the portal hubs, again, is just portal technology that's available to SSP programs. And it's very much technological. It's connected to zero-point technology to transport you from point A to point B. And it's a portal system that activates portal gateways from point A to point B, sometimes utilizing natural frequencies of portals that are already there, or simulating a technological portal that can open wormholes from point A to point B, because they've figured out how to simulate wormhole technology now, and they can do it in the programs. So that's the basic explanation of that, of how this stuff works instead of the maglev trains. Question number 18. There are individuals on who drug serums never work in order to erase memories or to do mind manipulation, nor can the memory engram stations erase memories or alter the memory engrams. Why do the drugs and these memory devices not work on these certain individuals so they can still remember their SSP asset experiences? I don't know Emery's answer, but my answer is some people are more psychic than others, and some people their brains can retain more memory, and the erasure just doesn't work through the drug serums or the memory engram stations, although memory engram stations are more effective at erasing more memories and replacing them with other insert memories. If somebody wishes to do that, they could. Again, some people are more susceptible to drugs and the memory engram stations, and some are not. Some people remember more of their SSP memories, and some people remember less of them. Since I was working with the memory engram stations to erase people's memories or implant new memories, the brain is very malleable and it's susceptible to change. Whether positive change or negative change, the brain is very susceptible because it is our computer core. It's like our little supercomputer inside us, literal supercomputer inside the brain. So it could be programmed left or right, up or down. It's programming. It's just biological programming of the brain, assisted with memory engram stations or drug serums to erase your memories or to put something in you to replace those erased memories. And honestly, I use hypnosis, self-hypnosis. If I want more information of what I've naturally remembered from working on the cybernetics labs or my other SSP experiences, I do use specific hypnosis scripts that I've created myself to access more of these memories, to find out what was happening behind the scenes. That's how I access memories these days, to have a fuller picture and timeline of what I did, where, and why. For question number 19, can you please describe how someone could see through the blue light spectrum in order to be able to remote sense events, remote view, people, objects, energies, future events, etc.? What are either the natural mechanisms or augmented genetics involved, drug serums or other alterations that synthetically create the phenomenon of seeing through the blue light spectrum? How is that different from traditional remote viewing? Some people just have the natural psychic ability to remote sense events, people, objects, energies, future events without any type of training. From what I understand of it, they're just natural remote sensors, and they have the remote sensing ability. Or this can be created synthetically with the Neuralink implants to augment your brain to be able to do all of these things. I don't know Emery's answer. I can only give you an answer of what I know of this information. You can be just a natural remote, intuitive remote sensing and do remote sensing, or you can train for it with remote viewing techniques, what Ed Dames teaches, what Lynn Buchanan teaches. That's based on military protocols. And some psychics are just natural remote sensors. They can do remote sensing, which I do. I do a lot of remote sensing. Sometimes I do keep with the original remote viewing RV structure of idioms, of what I'm seeing, landmarks, water, cold, hot, what the object looks like, the blind target methodology, or sometimes my targets are not blind and I know something about the target, just a basic gestalt of the target. I don't know everything. Sometimes if it's missing persons, cold case, I'm given a name of that missing person by the tasker to get information, because they don't want a total blind target. They will give a name, and that's all they give. They don't say it's a missing person or where they went missing or what happened to them. They just give you a name. That's the target by the tasker. Or they give you numbers in the traditional blind target for the remote viewing. It really depends on the purpose of the remote viewing. And that's the difference between traditional remote viewing and remote sensing. In remote sensing, you might get a name given to you, and you're asked, this is your target, person, first name, last name, that's it, remote sensing. In traditional remote viewing, you're given 2 sets of coordinates, numbers, and that's a blind remote viewing. As remote sensing, sometimes it's not totally blind target of events, people, objects, energies, future events, whatever it is that you're tasked to remote view. And if you've been part of the SSP programs, you might have Neuralink implants or other augments that are synthetic. And with those Neuralink implants, your psychic abilities are amplified and you can remote view better, as opposed to somebody who doesn't have these Neuralink implants in them. So for question number 20, I see light craft hovering over my house all the time. These craft move around either slowly or quickly. They can suddenly phase in and just as quickly phase out from the Earth dimension. When I try to photograph these craft, it looks like light photography. Do you know why that would happen? Are these light craft similar? Are these light craft similar to the semi-sentient bioships? If so, how similar or different are they to each other in comparison? Again, I don't know Emery's answer to this. All I can say is that sometimes what looks like light craft is actually, or looks like light photography. These crafts have warp bubble fields around them. So you see the warp bubble, and when you photograph that, that's what the light photography looks like to you, that protective shield warp bubble. So you don't actually see what the craft is inside the warp bubble. You just see an energy signature of that warp bubble. That's what you photograph. Sometimes light ships could be beings that have simulated a type of a craft, and that's what's called a light craft or a sentient bioship, because the being is powering the biological craft that they created. They are the craft temporarily, and it can phase in and out of Earth dimension, and you accidentally or on purpose photograph that phasing in and out from our reality to a different dimension level. And sometimes there's craft that are made to simulate bioships. They're not totally sentient, but they have portions of sentient technology in them. So they're a mix of technology and sentience put together to power the craft by ETs telepathically and psychically. So there's different types of bioships, whether sentient or technology combined with sentience technology itself. So that's what I know of. So when I photograph different types of craft, there could be a warp bubble around the craft protecting it, keeping its electromagnetic field stable, and powering the craft, allowing it to travel through hyperspace beyond the speed of light. That's what this warp bubble is. And it keeps the gravity inside the ship. It allows it to fly in weird patterns and beyond the speed of light. Or it's a being that's created a craft, a biological craft. It is itself, that it's craft. Temporarily, it is the craft. Then it changes back and dissolves the craft. So there's different types of options of bioships. And what you photograph, it perceives as light photography on the camera instead of a focused image of a shape of a craft. So that's the best way I can describe it from what I know of this stuff. Question number 21. I remember using the holographic medical pods for curing diseases, regrowing body parts, and also bringing people back from the dead. How are the holographic medical pods built? What are the technological parts, energy, frequency, or fields? Is there any crystalline technology used to build the pods? I don't know Emery's answer to this, or whether he's worked with holographic medical pods or not. From my understanding with being an end user of the holographic medical pods in the cybernetics labs on Mars, it's made out of different types of materials. It could be metallic alloys, it could be other substances. The pods are cylindrical shaped or square shaped. Some of them have lasers attached to them for surgery. Some of them use plasma technology as energetic frequencies or fields. It could have lens cameras on it. It could have mimetic gel to remove burns. It could be ET technology fused with human technology. There's different types of holographic medical pods. Older types look like MRI machines, but a little more advanced. The newer ones are plasma technology, holographic medical pods using the holographic technological aspects blended in with the plasma technology to power the pod. That's why they're called holographic medical pods, because it's all holographic technology attached to the physical pod, where a being gets in to be healed or to regrow body parts, whatever needs to be done, or bring people back from the dead. So that's what I know of the holographic medical pods. They're literally regenerative technology that regenerates something that's gone or damaged or broken to bring it back. And I suspect there's nanotechnology involved in how these holographic medical pods are also built to design them and make them functional. For question 22, some people have been injected with nanotechnology that is smaller even than nanoparticles. This nanite technology is in the person's body and ruins their autoimmune system and other cellular mechanisms that power the body. What type of technology allows aliens or extraterrestrials who abduct people to insert the nanotech into people's bodies? Does the SSP also do this to their assets? What type of electron or other microscopes can detect the nanotechnology in someone's body? How can the nanotechnology be removed from people's body and stopped so it does not self-replicate within the body? Again, I don't know Emery's answer to this question, but what I know of nanite nanotechnology, it is small nanotech nanites that can be infused into the body through dermal injection or through the bloodstream. And these nanites just are so small, they're less than microscopic, so no Earth microscopes can see it. You'd almost need a Rife microscope or something that the SSP has to see any type of nanite augmentation in the body. I know that reptilians use nanite technology to augment their smart suits and their bodies. From my own abduction experiences, and to literally infuse humans with nanite technology to either do good or bad to ruin the body. It depends, again, why they do it, what their experimentation is. And I do know that SSP acids are often augmented or implanted with nanite nanotechnology, like the Neuralink implants. That's nanotechnology implanted into the brain and other parts of the body to augment the SSP acids for whatever purpose they need to be augmented, to make them stronger, faster, smarter, augment their psychic abilities. Whatever the implants are designed to do, that's what the augments do. So, and nanotechnology is self-replicating if you program it to self-replicate, but some of it doesn't self-replicate if that's not the programming that it's designed to do. Sometimes it's just implants. They don't replicate. They're just sitting there in your body doing what they're supposed to do. So that's what I know of. And aliens and extraterrestrials who abduct humans often do implant them with trackers, nanotechnology, or some kind of other biological tracker that's in the body that's not easy to detect with an MRI scan or a brain SPECT. You know, it's nanotechnology is specifically designed to be less than micro level, so you can't pick it up with anything. That's why it's designed that way, so you don't pick it up or detect it that easily. That's the design mechanism of it, that it can do whatever it needs quietly in the body, and you wouldn't even know that it's there in the background, running and doing whatever it's doing. So those were the viewers' questions for Emery Smith. And I don't know Emery's answers to this, but hopefully I've provided some answers that I know of through my own experiences and what I've encountered. And, you know, I do the best that I can with these viewer questions. These were specifically for Emery Smith, but I've had some experiences that I could provide some facsimile of answers to some of these questions. So thank you so much.